Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of CXO-Talk. And I'm Michael Krigsman, and I'm here with Vala Afshar. Vala, how are you doing?
How are you, Michael?
Good. Nice to see you again.
Great seeing you as well.
So we've got 4 episodes under our belt.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Feels like we've been doing this for a long time.
Well, you know, in the past we've had a lot of technical difficulties, but today we're in good shape. And one of the reasons...
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. So, and one of the reasons we're in good shape is because we have 2 really interesting guests. We have the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of LexisNexis, Steve Mann. Steve, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Michael. Vala, I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. And we have the Chief Information Officer, the CIO of Seton Hill University, outside of Pittsburgh, Phil Komarny. Phil, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Michael. Thanks for having me. Vala, Steve, great to be here.
Thank you. So you guys are still smiling. You have a CIO and a CMO together, and they're smiling. That's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is anybody a Game of Thrones fan?
No, I don't
because winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Right.
Is it going to be the winter of our discontent in this, in the next half an hour, 45 minutes or so?
Probably not.
Probably not. So, Steve, let's dive right in. So you're the Chief Marketing Officer of LexisNexis, and tell us a little bit what, in plain English, what does that actually mean? What do you do?
No, that's a really good question, Michael. So the way I describe what a CMO does, typically when people ask me because they don't know, is that we CMOs sit at the intersection of creativity and strategy. And it's our job basically to partner with the CEO to translate his vision, his business strategy, into a marketing strategy that drives the business forward, delivers revenues, delivers customer satisfaction, right? And so you can see that in a number of different areas, whether it is in the branding that an organization does, or the communications efforts that they do, or the demand generation work that's done, or the pricing and packaging that's done. Those are all manifestations of translating the business strategy into a marketing strategy. And I think recently, I think just about everybody here has been also involved in digital efforts. And I view also one of my roles is translating that business strategy into what we do digitally, whether it's via e-commerce, on our website, in our products. It doesn't matter. They're all digital personas of the company.
So your job then, if I can summarize it, if this is right, is to make sure that the strategy, or that your execution, the digital personas as you were describing, line up with the organization's broader strategy.
Right. The vision and business strategy that my CEO has laid out comes to life in the go-to-market strategies and the various channels that we would utilize. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Vala, how does that line up with what you do?
No, I think that was a great definition, simple definition, intersection of creativity and strategy. And certainly you mentioned Chief Digital Officer or digital initiatives. Just had the Gartner survey of hundreds of CMOs as they talk about their digital initiatives. And in this, I think it was 500 some odd CMOs, although they speak to the average spend on digital initiatives in 2012 around 2.5% of company revenue, Gartner is projecting these digital initiatives from content management and creation to social and mobile to web to reach around 9% of company revenue, which is an incredible growth, and it signifies a priority. So I'll point to our second guest, Phil Komarny, who's the Chief Information Officer for Seton Hill University. And Phil, I have a very good understanding of your team and the mission that you have, and you spend less time on the infrastructure and the traditional role of an IT and CIO leader, and I see you driving mobile initiatives and social initiatives and e-commerce and trying to drive student acquisition, retention, fundraising, and all these business initiatives that Seton Hill is looking to embark. And so, are you the CIO? Are you the CDO? Are you, do you wear multiple hats a day? Talk to us a little bit about your role and where you see your function within the university.
Wow, thanks, Val. That's a great question. It's blurry, is the best I could put it. It's something that I came into this role from a development job. I'm a developer by trade, so walking into a management, a C-level position with a different type of background. I had a little bit of management because I own my own companies and things, but really to try to look at this role from with a different background, I think that's why I've seen and been able to move our business in the way that we have with the background that I came to the table with. I think that's a little bit odd in my role from what I've met from my other colleagues around my area. And yeah, we do. It's constantly looking at the business, looking at how we can increase retention, increase enrollments, how we can use digital initiatives to talk to every one of those aspects of our business. And when you insert the cloud, social, and mobile, a lot of those silos come down, and these roles start to get blurry and really start to work a lot better together. And I was just talking a little earlier with our marketing officer. I was actually a director of marketing. We don't have a CMO.
Marketing officer today.
Yes, that's right.
That's good. Interesting.
We're going through budgeting right now, like most higher education universities are. Yeah. And through the process, I'm looking at a marketing budget, and I'm wondering, wow, there's a lot of things that we could do, not to just spend those marketing dollars, but to really start building platforms that we can own and start to utilize to market to our 18 to 20-year-old market. So we're looking at putting in public Wi-Fi in our downtown area, looking at our local malls that don't have public Wi-Fi. We'll probably be sponsoring that and offering our marketing department a really good platform to engage our customers, our students with.
So Phil, you report to the CEO of the school, if I'm not correct.
I do, the president.
Right,
correct.
if I'm not mistaken. So in a sense, it seems like, and Steve, where do you report, if you don't mind my asking?
I report into the CEO as well.
So in both of your organizations, you're kind of the analog, but I think this is a little bit less common for CIOs than for chief marketing officers. Would you guys agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I would say that one of the reasons why I was hired was to drive the digital initiatives forward. As a matter of fact, one of my major things that I'm being measured on over the next couple of years is to the degree that we digitize our marketing and have major initiatives that move ourselves from an older style of engagement to a digital style of engagement. So I definitely think that that's a hat I wear. Phil?
Yeah, same here. It's more of less of feeds and speeds, like Vala said. We're really, I think we have a really bulletproof network here that we, knock on wood. We've done our due diligence and really have put a lot of time and effort into consumerizing our environment and really understanding that and understanding the security aspects of it and really leveraging it to the positive and really creating an environment where we can all be socially connected.
I love the word you just used, consumerizing our environment, because I presented at a conference with you, Phil, and I was amazed how you would pull up your iPad or mini iPad and you're looking at real-time statistics on student retention set of KPIs, and you're looking at all your departmental, not just IT, but administrative and faculty business model, and it's all accessible to you on a mobile device, running in, it looked like a custom app. I'm not sure if certainly was a cloud-based app. I thought it was built, I believe, on an Amazon back end, but you can manage the business on a beach or at a hotel or on a conference showroom area. Is the world, and is everything you do mobile first?
Absolutely, it has to be now. It's especially in the industry that I'm in. We're looking at a market that doesn't demand it. It's part of them. So if we don't really, leverage that mobility factor, they expect it. They expect to walk into this university and their device just works. So that we really do leverage that constantly, and we have built HTML5 available, HTML5 capable portals above all of our ERP systems. So I really don't spend time training our users on how to use a very complex ERP system when they're going to use this much of it. I'll build an application and extract that data and mash it together with other data that they wouldn't be able to even have access to, especially a mobile device. Put those together into dashboard-like reports. So we're making decisions now based on real-time data around the President's Council table. We used to be able to have to talk about the report we would want to look at next week and then go back for a week, run reports, come back. That's not a way to run a business.
Steve, what about you? Your environment is a corporate enterprise environment as opposed to Phil, which is a university, which obviously has a lot of young people. It's a college. So how are you relating, is your organization relating to mobile these days, both internally and for your customers?
Well, from translating marketing strategies into something that's consumable, obviously it's a primary platform. But as I was listening to Phil speak, I was wondering, gee, am I mobile first in terms of how we go to market? And I'd say that I'm social first. So
what does that mean?
It means that our primary strategy is not necessarily is to be platform agnostic, but from an engagement perspective, I'm looking to engage via social channels as a primary means to drive engagement with my market, especially at the lower end of the market. Over the next 7 to 8 years, millennials are just flooding into the market, right? And by 2020, 80% of the workforce that I address will be millennials and Gen Zs. And so I need to talk to them entirely differently than I would talk to an attorney today, for instance, and that's via social channels.
But wouldn't the millennials connect to you 9 out of 10 times on a smart device, on a mobile device? So it's a social channel, but connected through a mobile entity.
No, Vala, you're absolutely right, and that's why I was referencing is like I have to look at all channels and treat them all equally. But at the end of the day, I'm more concerned about the engagement model than the consumption device, and that's where partnership with the IT side of the house comes into the mix, because I'm looking to them to help me make sure that I am on the right devices in the right channels.
Got it.
So how does that actually work? And by the way, let me just say to everybody that I hope that you will tweet your comments and your questions and use the hashtag #CXOTalk, spelled #CXOTalk. So
that was the midway advertorial we had to.
Exactly. And now it's station break.
Now it's station break.
So #CXOTalk with no space in the middle. So Steve, you're going to elaborate a little bit and tell us about the relationship with IT, and then Phil, same thing. Interested from your point of view.
So. From a partnership perspective, you're asking, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, how do you engage with IT? And yeah, just some description about how you do it. What are the issues that come up? Are there issues, challenges, and so forth?
Well, the major issue is funding, as always. I have a list a mile long of the things that I want to do, and I could typically get done maybe this much of it. So it's really a prioritization exercise, and that's actually one of the tension points. Is that in some instances, my IT partner has a strategic direction that they want to go in, and so they've hired resources to fulfill out that strategic direction. Let's say it's building out our back end systems and ensuring that our ERP platform is ready to go. That's their focus point. Where I may need somebody who is building me a digital asset management system because I want to drive significant efficiencies out of the marketing organization, and an asset management platform would allow me to do that. So it's coming to an agreement on resource balancing as a way to driving forward my prioritization. And truly having an understanding of what their needs are. So I can't walk into that conversation having a siloed mentality around what I want and what I need is the only thing that matters. I have to go into those conversations having a broader perspective as to what the entire organization needs and where my priorities fall within a larger list, I would say.
So Steve, no temptation, Steve, to especially since most initiatives in marketing today involve some level of technology, for you to have shadow IT or move to a SaaS cloud-based solution where you can turn it on overnight, it being whatever you need to enable marketing.
Vala,
you're not saying that, you're not suggesting that he should like cut IT out of the loop.
No, I'm not suggesting you would do that. In fact, that's not something I practice.
I mean, Steve would never do that.
No, never.
No,
so I got to tell you that it's a wonderful thing having a web development organization as part of a marketing organization.
Steve, you handled that really well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And there's also value in having marketing operations within the marketing organization as well, because frankly there are things that require a level of marketing expertise in order to get done, that require like intricate knowledge, for example, of campaign deployment and campaign management, and you don't necessarily have that in an IT partner unless the IT partner has been structured in such a way where they've provided dedicated resources, right? So one of the things that we do is we definitely look for areas where we're not trying to cut IT out of the loop, but we're trying to get to market quicker. And that's also an open discussion that I have with my partner.
So Phil, I didn't think that I heard him say just now that CMOs are little more than attention-seeking land grabbers invading CIO turf. I don't think I heard him say that.
Yeah,
I need to remind Michael there's a CMO in the room.
Oh, oops.
Go ahead. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, I kind of heard that too, but you know what? Sometimes some CIOs and some IT organizations deserve it. I mean, really, one of the hardest things I was.
Whoa, Phil, could you repeat that a little bit?
What was that?
I said some IT organizations absolutely deserve it. Deserve to be back, go around the back door, get whatever resources you need to get done. Because if you're not around the table and a part of that discussion and adding to it, not being the person that's saying, oh no, security, oh no, our auditors, oh no, we can't do that.
Defaulting to no. Yeah.
You don't deserve to be at the table. That will not work in this world. And it's changed so dramatically that CMOs like Steve could, very easily circumvent any IT organization. But if the IT organization isn't being a part of that team, they deserve it. They really do, because business moving forward, it has to be a team effort, and especially in this cloud social mobile world. We really have to understand the marketing world. We have to understand, in my world, we talk with every department on campus on a daily basis.
So Phil, my summary of what you just said is that, and maybe this is true for any executive, defaulting to yes, repeating what Steve said, social first. Let me ask, do you invite the marketing lead at Seton Hill to your weekly staff meetings, or do you attend their staff meetings? How do you foster this collaborative mindset where you're showing a concerted effort to learn about the business, not just your function or line of business?
Right, and I'm not one that I hate meetings, but we do use Google Chat a lot.
Coffee meeting on lunch.
We're a university that's completely Mac-based, and we've leveraged the cloud like no other, I think. So everybody at our university has a MacBook, has Google Chat, has this kind of functionality. So this is not unheard of. This is a daily occurrence on our campus. So if I want to talk to Becky, our marketing director, just as easy as this. This is how we engage with each other. We're friends. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I have a similar relationship with the IT side of the house. It's a strategic partnership because, frankly, I'm reliant on them to help me develop the infrastructure that I need to take my organization to the next level.
Steve, do you get a lot of pushback from them? Yeah, a lot of no's or a lot of yeses?
I think that I get reasonable pushback. I think that the pushback that I get is, Steve, we understand that you want to be running, but we're at a walking stage right now. And for me, it's a frustrating experience because I'd like to be moving at 90 miles an hour and change the tires while the car's in motion.
Right. Is there any other way to do it? I didn't know there was another way.
So Steve, let me ask, during the procurement process, whether you're deciding which application and solution to go with, do you invite IT to, let's say it's a SaaS provider, to help you with negotiating SLAs or even selecting the right vendor for the specific marketing needs that you have?
So yes, I do invite them in. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We hear you.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I do invite them in. However, in those instances where we have expertise, let's say in marketing automation, where I'd want to be looking at a Marketo or an Eloqua type of application, right? We would be asking them to look at fit from an existing infrastructure perspective. So the scope of their analysis would be limited.
Okay, that makes sense. And you, Phil, how often are you pulled in? Let's say your marketing lead wants to bring gamification concepts in the university or create an environment where you can improve fundraising at the universities and be able to scoreboard donors. Are you involved early on, Phil, in the marketing initiatives at Seton Hill University?
Absolutely, Vala. That's kind of a key, and I think we've earned the right to be at that table here at Seton Hill.
How did you do that?
Yeah, how did you do
that?
that?
That's a good question.
I love that.
I started here in early 2009, and walked into an organization that my president gave me a very, very vague but very telling lead, was just make it a very engaging environment. So, okay, with that, we move forward into this mobile social environment. But through that whole process, we had to engage, we had to change, IT had to change, the way we managed this organization had to change. And what that did over those 2 years, from 2009 to 2011, in 2009 when I came here, we were ranked 11th. Out of 11 departments on campus, we were 11th, okay?
So let me see, that means dead last.
Dead last. And Steve's going around our back every day, and we deserve it, okay? Now, here's what changes. We changed it. We've consumerized it. We've based everything we do on the user experience. Everything. It has to be a great user experience.
CIO talking about user experience. That's awesome. Sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
Thanks. I mean, moving with that, just that thought process moving forward. We've moved from 11th to last year we were number 2. So I gave my staff, it was a great, huge improvement. But you guys know me a little bit. I want to be number 1. I want to get up to the top of that list. So this year we broke it in half. We broke our department into IT, just purely IT, and Solution Center. We don't call ourselves a help desk. We're a Solution Center. So we broke it up into 2 separate sections. And when we broke the survey into 2 groups, the students in one side and the faculty and staff in the other. And we went from 11th to 2nd to first on the student side. IT, our organization, is seen as number 1 by the students. Our technology is seen by number 1 by our students. Number 2 was the Solution Center. Now, by our staff and faculty, our solution center was number 1, but our tech is still like number 7. And it's an age difference. Really, this adoption, there's so much change we brought into this environment is being adopted at different rates by different age people, and that's really what we've seen.
I love the fact that you have this kind of a net promoter, this level of advocacy measure, and the transparency that exists. I mean, you so freely talk about which function is high, medium, or low about your institution and about your organization that you're leading. So, question to Steve, how much of a transparent culture is necessary within the business for CMOs and CIOs or any CX to work together to meet the strategic vision of the CEO, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show?
And bring in Steve, if you don't mind, when you're answering Vala's question, talk a little bit about the budgeting and the dollars and the investment and how you kind of balance the stuff you want with what IT needs, and how do the dollars and the user experience and satisfaction all hang together?
Yeah. So great question. The transparency issue is a critical one, and I think some organizations do it better than others. And it actually, to my way of thinking, it goes not to organizational maturity, but to leadership maturity. Leaders, I think, need to be comfortable having that level of transparency, number one, and then really, it's almost like the Tao of leadership, right? You want to be able to sit back, be completely open, be transparent, because you're confident in your capability, and you're confident in your planning process that it'll be a better process if it's more collaborative, right? For example, we look at our failures every day, and when we look at our failures, we look at it as a means to say, okay, what's the quick path to success through this failure? But to do that, you have to take the glasses off, and by taking the glasses off, you have to invite people in who weren't close to the failure in order to give you some critical review. So we invite people in all the time to look at that type of to do that type of analysis with us, right? So in that same vein, you need to partner, drive partnership with your IT organization in order to develop a 360 strategy. So Michael, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was asking also, bring in the sort of division of labor on the budget, and just to layer something else on top of it, how do you manage the expectations? And I think that the budget is also, the budget is connected with user satisfaction in some key ways, and it's also connected with the expectations on both sides between IT and marketing in terms of getting stuff done.
Yeah, I think budget also sits where, based on some of the organizational dynamics that are in play for a particular organization. By that I mean, if you have a shared services organization that's responsible for delivering a set of services out to the hub and the spoke that it attaches to, then you're going to see budget largely responsible and sitting in that organization. If you see it being an organization that's business unit driven, and the business unit sets the priorities and then goes back to the shared services organization and says, give me this, then you're going to see budget most likely residing out there in the business units. Did I answer your question, Michael?
Yeah, maybe we'll come back a little bit to it a little bit more. But actually, I wanted to ask both of you, maybe with Phil, what kinds of specific projects and vendors do you have going on, are you working with, and so forth right now?
Oh, wow. We have, we're growing. We have 3 building projects going on right now. So we've engaged with Enterasys as our networking vendor with the build out of those buildings. We have a very big project right now with HR, payroll, finance moving to the cloud. We engage with Workday. We're just starting with that implementation. We're looking at some Salesforce implementations this summer for marketing. So we're going to weld our current on-campus data sources up, our data systems up to a marketing arm up in Salesforce this summer too.
So Enterasys, Workday, and Salesforce. And Phil, just tying back to what Steve was talking about And it's a little bit counterintuitive because as marketeers, we're trained to accentuate the positive and speak about, all the good things that are happening. But Steve talked about building authenticity and really collaborating by talking about lessons learned and failures and in the spirit of continuous improvement. As you're bringing these big projects, big vendors, combination of on-premise and cloud vendors to bring innovation into the campus, how often do you engage with the other lines of business in terms of lessons learned and how you can improve the IT function?
Well, anytime we engage with any part of any part of our business unit, any unit here on campus, we constantly are engaged with them. Even we do a post-mortem at the end of the project to really see how it went. Did it go positively? Did it go negatively? Where could we have fixed that? But really, just having those conversations and being more open, transparent. That's something I don't think was here before we've made these big changes. So we're really seeing these effects and really living that DevOps. Friction in real time. I mean, I've just read a book from Gene Kim, the Phoenix Project, and it's like deja vu. I'm like on chapter 6. I'm like, oh my God, he was here. It is a great book, and just going through that, we've learned a lot through that process as well.
And Steve, some of the applications and vendors you're using, definitely interested. Our marketing professionals would love to hear.
Sure.
What are some of the vendors you're using?
So our back-end systems is an Oracle stack through and through. But in addition to all the way up to our CRM systems, and we're about ready to stand up Siebel 8.1. We've also got a Salesforce implementation as well that I'm pretty excited about and looking forward to extending its footprint in the organization. And that both implementations also include an Eloqua marketing automation umbrella to make it easier for the organizations to really get to market quickly. From an analytics perspective, we've got Spreadfast for social media monitoring. We've got Symphonic as our analytics partners. And from a social perspective, social implementation perspective, we're partnering with the Dotchess Group to actually deploy our social media marketing strategy.
So you're working with our friend Dion Hitchcock.
Dion is going to be a guest on our show in a few weeks, and he's certainly an amazing thought leader. So many different vendors all having to interoperate to help meet your marketing and IT initiatives. What are some advice you can give to vendors in terms of how they can better serve the CIO and CMO? What do you look for when you're selecting a vendor running these mission-critical digitization or other marketing and IT initiatives? I'll stay with you, Steve.
Well, I think when vendors fall off my radar, they fall off because they make it too difficult to understand what they actually do. In other words, they don't keep it simple, right? I think most CMOs and most CIOs, we're pretty sophisticated individuals. We get it, and I think that some vendors tend to come to the table, saying, "Well, hey, let me explain to you what search engine optimization is." And if you come at me with that approach, then it's not going to stick. So I expect my time is really valuable.
Sure.
I expect these folks to not waste my time and to really only talk to me if you've got something that's going to be of value to my business.
Got it. And name one vendor that's really doing that well.
Yeah.
I'd say that Spreadfast did that really well for us, and Symphonic did that really well for us. They came in and they just, they nailed it. They quickly understood our needs and went ahead and put a plan in place for execution.
And Phil, this is an interesting line of discussion. What do you want to see from a vendor, and what makes you drop a vendor off of your list?
Oh, wow. I don't like to be, I'm with Steve on this one for sure. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And it's Steve Jobs' quote, and I believe in it. And even from the sales pitch angle, I mean, don't come in here with something I have to go home and research to figure out what I'm going to pay you year one. It's starting to be very difficult to judge some of these cloud implementations as well. I mean, there's a lot of hidden costs. You really got to do your due diligence and press the salespeople to really be upfront about every implementation charge that comes in with a lot of these solutions today.
Hidden costs in cloud implementations. Steve, we haven't heard of that, right?
That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. Steve, what's your relationship with the cloud vendors? And also, it's interesting that you're implementing both Siebel and Salesforce. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on all that. Steve?
Oh.
Have we lost?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was having some connectivity issues. Can you ask the question again?
Yes, I thought maybe you were meditating a little bit there for a moment.
He definitely looked at peace. He definitely did.
I am at peace. I am at peace.
So the question is, Phil was just describing hidden costs on cloud deployments. And I was saying, we've never heard of that. And so you're laughing. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, it's interesting that you're implementing both Siebel and Salesforce. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well.
So with regards to the Siebel deployment, we had strategically settled on the Oracle platform a number of years ago before I ever entered the organization. But we also had smaller teams in place where it really didn't make sense to necessarily migrate them to and go through the customization work that would be required to standardize on the corporate platform. So we moved them to something where we can stand them up in 30 to 60 days. And so that's why you see those dual deployments.
Great.
So it's like the so the Siebel was brought in before you were there. Now you're working with Salesforce, but they're coexisting.
That's correct, at least for the time being.
Great.
And do you integrate? Are they integrated in any way, or are they just separate standalone islands?
With Oracle acquiring Eloqua, as well as now having Salesforce implementations, the ultimate goal is to integrate Eloqua into Siebel and to Salesforce, as well as having from a master data management perspective, ensuring that both systems are feeding a common source of truth with regards to customer and prospect data.
Perfect. Phil, I have a question for you. You certainly, you read all the analysts and the technology magazines and so on and so forth, and there's certainly a tone that says the technology budget and spend is shifting away from IT and the CIO and more into marketing, whether it's CDO or CMO. One, so what are you doing and do you see that that's something that's real even in the university, and what can CIOs do to continue to stay strategic and relevant in business? And then we'll move to Steve and see if that's indeed the case, where majority of technology spend is in marketing versus what used to traditionally be IT. So Phil, with you, if you could speak to that a bit.
I think if CIOs really want to stay relevant, they're going to have to really adopt a digital officer's type of mentality to really make that or bridge that gap with the CMO and really work together. And I really do think it's two distinct positions, two distinct skill sets, but it really, where the budget falls is one thing, but if you don't have the right mindset in this role as a CIO, I really don't think it will be relevant in 3 to 5 years.
I want to focus on the right mindset, because you, my friend, you are a social CIO. You're accessible. Your opinions and beliefs are shared in public. You make an effort to connect with people, even outside your organization. So can you be a relevant CIO if you're not a social CIO?
Well, I know I couldn't. I really don't think you can. It has to be that amount of learning, the amount of information I have to take in on a daily basis. It starts at 5 in the morning with Twitter, and it's all through the day. If you aren't able to do that, it's something that I'm at an advantage. It's that simple. I mean, we had a CIO event here where Michael and Vala you guys were actually here for an event with us, and to see around the table my local peers, the ones that showed up, they understand that they need to be more social. It's hard to make that first step, but I see a lot of people stumbling over, oh, how do I use Twitter? Well, it's not that hard. Everybody gets stuck on that first step, though. But being social has been a big part of my role here.
And Phil, and after your answer, I'll transition to Steve. Let me ask, and maybe this is a pretty pointed question. Would you consider a vendor's social footprint as a criterion to do business with them?
Well, that is absolutely. And they engage with me more via Twitter now than they do via email. And I'll be on a 2-day delay on email. But if the people that really I need to know that need to know how to get in touch with me know how to get in touch with me.
Are they sending you direct? Are these direct messages or public tweets? How is that working?
It's both. I mean, direct message is always good, but if somebody wants to get my attention, I haven't told them this. It's kind of trained them into it. They know that I'm active there. They know why I do it. I've presented at this university many times, professional development functions, to try to bring other people on board and make them understand and this isn't a narcissism thing. It's not an ego thing. It is a learning thing. I learn every day, and that's the way I stay relevant. And so if I don't, go ahead. Sorry, Vala.
So Steve, do you engage with vendors through social channels, and is that an expectation as you're selecting vendors, how accessible and what their footprint is in terms of social?
Yes to both questions. I absolutely expect them to be accessible. Yes, my engagement is very much through social channels. I think a large majority of the vendor outreach that I get these days comes through LinkedIn.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to say something a little bit about the Chief Digital Officer discussion we were having earlier, and kind of where that sits. And frankly, I don't think that the C-suite has room for another C-level. Just my personal opinion. I think it's pretty crowded there as it is. But I do think that it's a collaboration, and then it's a collaboration that happens between CIOs and CMOs if they have the capability. If they don't have the capability, then one or the other needs to take it on, because it's absolutely critical that somebody is responsible for making sure that disruptive digital footprint is put in place, and that it drives the organization forward.
So what is that capability? What's that one thing that they need? Is it data driven? Is it understanding of mobile technologies, or what makes a good CDO?
Is there a single special sauce?
Right.
It's crystal ball viewing is the way I view it. You've got to be able to look into that crystal ball and say, damn, where do I need to be in the next 18 months digitally? Wow. And not worry about what the particular channel is, but then create a strategy that allows you to get there. So you need to be able to be data driven. You need to be able to then have the strategy and capabilities to actually formulate something realistic, and then the drive to put it in place.
So as we kind of drive to the close here, Phil, can you give advice to CIOs, and also, Phil, share some advice for chief marketing officers, for the CMOs, in terms of how to best work with IT?
Okay. Best way to work. Let's do the second part first. Best way to work with IT is really you have to have a relationship. It's not something you can just be two silos that have to work together. And there's this little bridge between these two silos that you both walk across and meet in the middle and walk to your other silos. At the end of the day, it doesn't work that way. It can't work that way anymore.
Great point.
So we really have to tear the silos down. They really have to get rid of that. And when we start implementing more things like Workday, where it's completely open, our HR, payroll, finance systems are pretty closed now. They're on Microsoft Dynamics, and our business unit sees it, and that's about it. I can build bridges or build interfaces on top of it to let people actually see data, but interacting with that level of data, I don't want to build that interface. I want to be able to extend to that type of interface. And Workday was the first one to come down the pike that showed us a way to utilize that type of environment. So,
and advice to CIOs.
Advice to CIOs: you have to be well. I have to say open. I mean, open is the big. It's about the only word I can think of where you kind of have to be transparent, and you have to be able to engage with people. I see a lot of people in my role as a CIO. It's more of a, it's black magic. We're behind these curtains, and don't look back here. It's all secret. It's not. It's completely open. Steve can go hire anybody today to go do what most enterprise IT organizations were. That's why they were put in place. This isn't today. So you have to become way more relevant and really understand your business and how you're going to use IT as a value engine to get that CMO to where we need to be. That's what this role is about.
So simple, collaborative, and open. And that was both for the technology solutions as well as the leaders of the organization. Is that a fair summary?
That's very good, Vala. Thank you.
And Steve, what advice would you give to CIOs, Chief Information Officers, in terms of how to be successful working with folks like yourself?
Yeah. Well, I would echo 100% what Phil said. I think his advice is spot on. It boils down to three things, and we've mentioned here already. Be transparent in what you're doing and what you can and cannot do, what your strengths and weaknesses are. Be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. That the learnings have to go both ways. That also means be accepting of failure and have a fail fast mentality. About 20 to 30% of your time needs to be experimenting in new ways of doing things. Wow. And being accepting of that. And the third thing I'd say, the third lever you have to pull is the collaboration lever. It's not a matter to be open to new ideas. It's not just a matter of being transparent about what you're doing, but you have to be willing to partner.
Excellent.
Great. It's wonderful advice.
Excellent advice.
One more tip for LCIOs: go out and get your own crystal ball. It's called Twitter.
I'm with you, Phil.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up another episode of CXO-Talk. So, Val, it's pretty interesting hearing these guys.
Phil, Steve, you were both amazing.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to capture this summary and share it with my network. You were both brilliant. Thank you very much.
And Vala?
My pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure as well. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
All right, everybody. Have a great week, and thank you for watching CXO Talk. We will be here same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you both.